And welcome back.
More revenue.
Okay, you did.
Any other county.
And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live via Citizen Television. Goodness, the conversation continues into the break. These two senators are sparing nobody and nothing. Senator Ledama Olekina from Narok County. Is he a tribal warlord? Is he Ntimama reincarnated? And then there's Aaron Cheruiyot from Cheruiyot County. Goodness, these people. So are you going to the rally? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's one thing that I don't want Ledama to get wrong.
Yes.
And I don't want him to paint those of us who don't agree with his ways of doing things as if we are against the Ma people. Maasais are my greatest friends. In fact, most of my best friends come from the Ma community.
That's what they always say. I've heard that before.
In fact, in Kericho,
yes,
the county that I represent in the Senate, we've got a good number of Maasais. And every time they've got specific issues that they feel need to be addressed, I do it on their behalf.
Let me tell you.
That is why I think it will be wrong for the Ledama to try and paint an impression as if any of us are opposed to you pursuing the rights of your people.
He does. He has a problem. He has a problem with you people.
The only problem I have with him...
He has a problem with you people.
...is his process, the way he wants to pursue those rights.
Let me ask you this. You have a problem with Raila Odinga leading BBI. Why?
Of course.
Why?
Because vintage Raila Odinga from 2007 preaches one thing. He has mastered the art of speaking from both ends of the mouth. That is why even on this particular issue of the BBI, if it was about uniting Kenyans, as a statesman, when he sat in that meeting at Masai Lodge on Thursday, or was it on Monday of this week, he would have been the one who would have asked, where are the other leaders from who live within Kajiado?
This was a Ma issues.
So you can't let him.
Wait.
So is Raila Odinga
what is your problem with him? I mean, you can't think for Raila Odinga.
Because as a statesman, all he needed to have done is guide young, energetic people like Ledama Olekina who are putting their energy in the wrong places to know that the kind of Kenya we are trying to build is a Kenya for all of us.
So what's your problem with him?
Because he is not guiding people correctly.
Because Jeff, BBI was his and President Kenyatta's initiative. Of course,
yes.
So what's your problem?
My problem is this, that he continues to practice politics of division despite the fact that, all these, look at how these rallies are being run, Jeff. Let's just be honest with each other. The kind of messages that are being sent, that he goes to Kitui and says,
Jeff, no,
please,
you can't let him
continue.
You can't let him continue because he's
Jeff,
peddling lies.
I just want to know his problem with Raila.
Tell him, let him say it.
Please teach this guy how to debate.
No, but be respectful.
Teach this guy how to debate.
Let me hear your problem.
It's not that I agree with everything he says, but every time he speaks, I keep my peace.
Okay.
Teach him that rule of debate.
Fine. Tell me what your problem is.
Number one, he goes to Kitui, gets the microphone. He's shaken hands with my party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta. And I think from there is supposed to be mutual respect. But he tells the people that the reason we are here is because Jubilee stole our election and Uhuru Kenyatta was running alone. He keeps saying that he won. He was running alone like a witch. I find that to be disrespectful.
What's your point?
My point...
Just because Raila doesn't get along with Ruto, is that your point?
No.
Yes, it is.
Says who?
What do you mean says who?
Says who,
They
Jeff?
don't like each other.
Of course, that's true. They don't like each other, but it doesn't mean that that's my reason for disagreeing with him.
It is your reason.
No.
It is your reason.
Using what basis?
What basis are you? You just said.
Where?
He goes one place and he says one thing.
Who?
Raila.
Yes. And that's the basis for me disagreeing with him. He preaches what they agree with my party leader, that let us go around the country and unite. Instead of taking on this battle and saying, let me shed off my tag as ODM party leader and take on this tag that I have with President, the task of uniting people. I expect him to call even leaders who don't agree with him politically and say, how do you think we can improve?
But I'm just saying, look, this BBI, it's also like a therapy session. You're going to air your grievances. You say, our election was stolen. It's a therapy session.
The rest of the guys can do it, but not him.
You don't like him,
Jeff.
Not really.
Let me teach Aaron Cheruiyot some economics.
Attempt to teach.
Let me put facts on the table.
Go.
And you can check this in any given time.
Yeah.
During the resist movement, this is how important Raila Amolo Odinga is in this country. During the resist period, the revenue collection for this country as a share of GDP was only 14.5%. That is not something good. When Raila and Uhuru shook hands and said, handshake, let us have this conversation to find out what is ailing Kenyans, why divisive elections at every given cycle. That is a divisive election that Raila was talking about. He was not being disrespectful. The moment he shook hand, let me tell you, last year, it went up to 16.5%. Over the last 5 years, when Jubilee has been in power, the revenue collection as a share of GDP has been going down.
That's
that is
not true.
Why.
That's not true.
No, those are facts.
You can look it up. You can look it up.
Those are facts. I can give
I will-
you the facts.
I will give him
have
the
it here.
numbers.
No,
I will
I have
give him the
numbers
numbers.
here. Let me put it this way.
What was collected in 2013 as revenue?
2013, 2014, the revenue is the only time that the revenue as a share of GDP was 18.4%.
Okay.
When you go down to 2014-15, it went down to 17.8%. 2015, 2016, 17.3%. 2017, 2018, 16%. 2018, 2019, 14.4%. Last year, it went up to 16.5%. What does that tell you?
Handshake was
What
which
does
year?
that tell you? It was
2018.
2018. But then there was now time for us to heal. There was time for us to be able to grow. And let me put it this way. Raila means good for this country. He means good for this country because as a person who we all believe won an election, decided to lower himself for the good of this country. And what I expect from a young senator, this young boy is so young, you know, he needs to learn and respect the elders. So because that's the only way that we can also be able to instill that discipline to our children. We are talking about thinking about this country in 100 years, you know, when we are all gone. You know, we want to be able to ensure that we are able to take this opportunity that BBI has given us to air out all our issues. You know, Maasais feel discriminated against because of government policies, you know, Ministry of Health policies and other government policies. Let us put everything on the table and say, the Maasai, the Kipsigis, you know, the Kikuyus, the Kamba, the people in the coast, what do you feel? Why are you so disgruntled? Can we fix this?
You know what
This
your
is an
problem is?
opportunity for us
You
to
are
do that. Tell me.
Maasai first. You're not Kenyan first.
That's his biggest
And,
problem.
you know what?
Maasai
I agree.
first and everything else
I
second.
agree. I am Maasai first and Kenya second. I agree.
No.
That is
In
me.
fact, you are
Wait a
wrong.
minute.
That is
You
my
are
position.
wrong. You are so wrong. Ledama is Maasai only. There's nothing called Kenya in his head.
My friend, let me tell you.
Let me tell
if
you.
I wasn't
let me
Kenyan,
tell
I
you
would
your
not
problem.
be fighting for
Let me tell you
Kenyans.
your problem. And you didn't learn from former President Daniel Arap Moi. Raila, who was tortured.
Yes.
But
for endlessly by the Moi regime.
I agree.
Did you see him that day saying, I forgive this man?
Yeah.
Anyone else who had been tortured
Thank
that
you.
long
Thank
would
you.
never have forgiven that
So,
man.
Jeff,
You still hate this man because he's talking about what?
Jeff, I have nothing but love and admiration for him.
For
but
who?
that does Raila Odinga. But that does not mean that I've got to agree with him politically. The fact that I don't agree with his politics doesn't mean that
That's
I
not
hate
politics.
him. I
It's being
respect him.
Totally disrespectful.
Correct.
Listen,
Totally
how?
disrespectful.
You totally
How, Jeff?
disrespecting
Everything
him.
you're saying.
Please tell me.
Until
How?
you're saying what? He keeps saying until the election was stolen, or he goes around and he gives away his
That
grievances.
is disrespectful.
But he's the guy who chaired the meeting where this guy is proposing. Where this guy is proposing that anybody who's not a Maasai should never run in Kajiado and Narok.
Those were matters.
No.
Thank
But
you.
he presided
Jeff,
over the
let me
meeting.
put it this
For
way.
a chair,
You know,
for
you
a
can't-
statesman, Jeff, what I expected of him was to remind these guys that this is not what I was tortured for.
All right, so
I was tortured for a better Kenya.
So is your boss acting like a statesman?
Uhuru Kenyatta?
No, the other boss.
No, I only have one boss.
No, you
Yeah,
don't.
right.
Jubilee is split down the middle. Come on.
Says who?
Stevie Wonder would tell you split down the middle.
Says who?
Preach it, bro.
Says who?
You know what I'm saying? These
Says
people
who?
are in denial.
Why? Listen, Jeff, there might be difficulties, but I still...
Difficulties?
Yes.
It's a rift in the rift.
Listen, Jeff.
Let's talk about
Rift in the
corruption
rift.
now. In the DP's office.
Let's go. Let's talk about corruption in the
All right.
office while we're at it. My friend, how the hell does someone hold a meeting for 23 minutes who has no authority to be at Harambee House Annex? He's seen on CCTV. He brings foreigners and they sign an 39 billion shilling alleged arms deal?
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. Why am I answering that question?
Because you are very close to the deputy president.
Says who?
Oh, for crying out loud. Now you
Listen, I can only help you.
I'm sorry.
As a logical Kenyan.
Is this
but
Simon Peter in the Bible
don't paint
now?
me.
Are we denying this man three times?
The reason I wanted to ask you that question is because I can see the brush that you want to paint me with.
I'm not painting anything.
Here.
You are
here.
You are a supporter,
as a Kenyan,
and you're a supporter of the deputy president
and the president as well. Why do you want to bring a rift between me and my party leader? I support him too.
Okay, so
don't paint me with that brush. But let me explain to you something. In my own assessment, how I've come to study about all this thing, I think to a certain extent, of course, it's really wrong what Rashid Echesa did, and thus quote unquote investors. I don't think they're investors. There's no investors who do the kind of things that they were doing. There's no investor who signs an contract, you know, in some way, public waiting room somewhere with no lawyer, no nothing, all those kind of things that are needed before you sign a contract.
So what do you think they were? What were they?
The question that I keep asking myself is that I've read their statement. They say they went to Eka Hotel, they went to this particular place, that this quote unquote fake general most of the time used to show up in military attire, that when they were being driven around the city, they had outriders and military clearance. Why was it so important for him to be arrested? Immediately, he came and showed up at the office of the deputy president. Do you know why? Do you know why?
What is your point?
My point is, there's a political narrative that had to be weaved.
Crying out loud.
Because,
Senator,
listen.
Do not make this a petty thing, man.
It can't be a petty thing because...
So he should have been arrested in the middle of Kenyatta Avenue with his outriders.
Yes. Because if he was arrested immediately when he was leaving the office, it tells you that these people have been keeping a trail of this guy for that long.
Of course. And they were waiting for the right moment.
Secondly, that office is not a private home. It is a public office.
Yes.
There were visitors that day. There will be visitors tomorrow. So if somebody comes up...
But there will be no Echesas who has no authority
Jeff,
to be there.
Listen, Jeff. And I want you to be neutral about this.
I'm very neutral.
Listen, no, you're trying to be, but you're not. You need to be. Jeff, if Echesa, a former cabinet minister, shows up at the gate and says, I've got an appointment in this office, he is ushered in.
No! How?
Listen.
How? Ushered in as who? I have an appointment.
No, Jeff.
I have a meeting in the deputy president's office?
Yes. Like many other people who come. And the minute it was confirmed and he was told, my friend, you don't have an appointment here, he was asked to leave and he
was
left.
there for 23 minutes.
They were confirming. What's the problem?
Oh, it takes you 23 minutes to confirm.
Not 23 hours. We are talking about the deputy president. This is not a kiosk. This is not a kiosk. Jeff.
You look at the ledger. Okay, today's diary. Who's there? Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're not there. You're told at the gate.
No.
Before you enter.
There's no public office where people are served at the gate, Jeff. Don't trivialize this. Don't trivialize this.
Public office?
Don't trivialize this.
Annex house is not a public office.
It is.
It is not.
What do you mean?
You think you can go, or me?
Yes.
You think I can walk in?
In fact, you can go in faster than myself.
Me?
Yes.
Get out of here.
Jeff, let me tell you what it is. This is nothing but sheer complicity. This has come out as an office that is bringing so many problems to this country. There's no way, Jeff, that anyone else can walk into this studio right now without being invited.
Thank you.
No one.
At your public office.
We are here because of your invitation. And let me tell you this.
Kwenye supermarket.
You know, exactly. You know, an office of the deputy president is not an office of the senator. And in fact, even in his own office, no one can pass downstairs.
The guards?
No, the guards, before they confirm from him.
Yeah.
Okay, before they
and he's probably watching them on CCTV.
We are not talking about an ordinary citizen.
The issue here.
We are talking about a former cabinet minister.
Let me tell you.
It doesn't matter. What's the difference?
What do you mean?
He's former sacked, whatever you want to call him.
No.
When they
sacked.
Listen, Jeff, the problem with you.
Persona non grata.
No. He hasn't been declared. Let me tell you something even more shocking.
Is this man? What is this man smoking?
By the way, Jeff.
Weed.
By the way, Jeff, let me ask you a question. You heard that there were people that conned people. There are conmen that conned Merali, and they called him using the president's line.
Yes.
That there are people who even went into State House and there was a fake computers purchase kind of deal. How comes I never saw you with this kind of venom trying to say, oh, the president was complacent in this?
This was ridiculous, my friend. This is just...
How is it different? Between State House and
okay, the guys who called Merali, it was on the phone, right? Anyone can impersonate the president. These guys were in the DP's office, Harambe House Annex.
That's a
CCTV shows it.
Yes, and it's a public office.
Jeff,
is he a persona non grata in that office?
Let me tell you something.
Forget about this guy. He doesn't know anything about this story. Why are you giving him attention to?
He doesn't know the story.
He wants to score cheap political points out of this.
I surely do hope that even when we amend the Constitution, we retain Article 226, subsection 5. Because right now the DP cannot be tried in office because of impunity.
Yeah.
Immunity. But let me tell you something.
The DP doesn't have immunity.
Let me tell you, yes, it does.
This guy is constitutional.
Presidency.
Nothing like that. It's only the president.
No.
My friend.
It's only the president.
He needs to go back to school.
If the DP was to resign today.
Let me tell you.
If he was to resign today.
That is when he'll be arrested. Let me put it
My
this way.
friend, if you guys have anything that you feel he has done that isn't right, take it to ESCC.
Jeff.
They will initiate a trial against him because constitutionally only the president has that immunity of office.
Who is his boss?
Boss of who?
Who is his boss? You know, he keep on saying, I don't know anything about this. So he knows too much. So tell Kenyans what you know.
About
because
who?
you're here defending corruption. You're
about
here defending impunity in this country.
Who have I defended?
Aaron Cheruiyot, Senator of Kericho.
Who have I defended, Ledama?
You're so defensive as if you know everything about the DP and his office.
About who?
An illegality. It's a crime scene.
Yes, the office, not the man.
No, everything.
There's a difference.
What, my friend?
Between the office and the man, those are two different people. In that office, more than 1,000 Kenyans work in there.
Let me ask you this, Senator. Since, you make a very valid point. So someone comes to your office in Kericho.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have an office.
I have.
Someone comes whom you know.
Yeah.
And they come with some people from outside.
Okay.
And they spend 23 minutes.
Yes.
Maybe 25.
Even 1 hour.
Thank you. They have tea, they come with papers, and they sign some documents. They're all on CCTV.
What's the problem with that?
Then they walk out.
First of all, the room they were in is a public waiting room where everybody else, including us members of parliament, whenever we go to that office, that's the place where we are ushered in.
Have you been to that room?
Yes. It's a public room just like this where you're told, sit in as we confirm your appointment, whether you have an appointment to see him or not. I don't see why you guys are making a whole big story about this. For heaven's sake, the man has even written a letter today and said, please, IG, I want this matter concluded as fast as possible. And if there are any officers in my office who are found to be culpable, please charge them. How much do you want this guy to do? You know, Ledama, let me teach you something.
No, you can't teach me.
You
can't teach me.
It's only a
let
fool,
me put it this way.
Only a fool who can be taught.
I will hear you, but you can't teach me anything about corruption.
It's only a fool who can be taught.
Okay? I'll put it this way. You're defending. You're so defensive.
My friend, I can teach you a lot. You need to know I'm your senior.
I think you should drink a senior in what?
My friend, you came to parliament just the other day.
It doesn't matter.
I'm your senior. Learn to respect me.
You can live in parliament for 20 years and you know crap. Nothing.
Listen.
Let me put it this way. No, you don't know. Don't defend what you don't know.
I didn't come here.
So let's go and talk about issues.
Listen, Jeff.
Listen,
Jeff. The thing that I wanted to tell this guy
no, you don't
is that
the
least we expect of you
you don't
is
expect
competition.
Anything from me. Competition is
Let me ask you
simple.
this, Senator. Did the DP mishandle the situation, in your opinion? Did he mishandle it?
What do you mean mishandled? By maybe how he reacted?
Yes.
Because I'm a student of communication, I think if it were myself, perhaps maybe I would have communicated differently. But people communicate in one way or the other. But I also want you to, for 1 second, Jeff, just be the man. Just be the man. Get out of yourself as Jeff. Every day you wake up, the day when there were scandals about State House, about which office, you don't see the face of the guys that occupy that office in the newspaper.
What scandal?
But the minute,
what scandal?
Like the ones they were talking about, the computers, you know? That story that there are people who are ushered into State House and they bought some fake computers. We didn't see the photo of the president in the newspapers for 3 days. We didn't see people doing Photoshop of his kids and trying to impersonate his children. So you've got to understand that the man is human at the end of the day. You've got to get to a point. What is all this mobilization that Ledama and company are doing, just trying to taint a man so badly? Why do they fear competition? The least we are asking for them, just be fair. Accept that at the end of the day, you will present yourself with the credentials that you're naming about your candidate. He will present himself, and we'll have a fair game.
Do you think the DP is right when he's saying the system is trying to work against him?
Of course.
They're trying to scuttle his plans for 2022.
Are you the only man in Jerusalem? Everybody knows, even a sweeper, even a 2-year-old Kenyan knows that the whole government machinery has been mobilized against one man. That's why media, the whole state apparatus is just trying to find things and say, how do we paint the man in such a way that we reduce him to nothingness? For heaven's sake, why all that? Can't you just allow him to flourish the way he's expected, or
Senator,
Kenyans to reject
Senator,
him?
Does he have a valid point in all that?
No, he doesn't. I think, let me put it this way. We've got to call a spade, okay? In this country, there's no way that today everyone can be able to count how much you own, and then tomorrow, no one can be able to tell how much you own. There's a lot of corruption in this country. There's a lot of indiscipline in this country. And I think the moment we start accepting that we're mortal beings, we're not immortal, and that everything that we try to amass in this world, we live it here, is the day we can be able to live peacefully and respect one another. What is happening right now is that there's a lot which was being hidden before, and when things fall apart, a lot of things happen. So everything is coming out. I think this is just an icing on the cake. There's still more to come. So the truth of the matter is, our revenues have fallen. The economy is not doing well. In fact, even until yesterday, our staff in parliament were not paid.
What?
That's a fact. Even until yesterday, even civil servants were also complaining. So really, it's a time that we now sit down and ask ourselves, what is wrong? And we need to be able to come up with a conversation that criminalizes any form of corruption, so that we can be able to build this economy. It behooves you and me and the senator of Cheruiyot to be able to sit down and put everything on the table for a better Kenya.
Senator from Cheruiyot, there was a headline in today's Standard, very profound, very telling headline.
Yeah, I read it.
What went wrong?
That's the kind of thing that I've tried to reflect about in the last few weeks or months when things have really gone south. And this thing that people are fanning, guys like Ledama can cheer all they want, because in the first place, they were never the supporters of the two. So to them, now there's a new tag in town where folks like Ledama and I don't want to use names because, for one reason.
Just use mine, I'm here.
No, let me use this guy. Thanks for allowing me.
Use mine.
They're telling us, respect the president, but disrespect his deputy. A fallout between a president and his deputy is not something to be taken so lightly and so casually. In South Sudan, Riek Machar and his boss Salva Kiir had this kind of situation. Up to date, that country has not recovered. They are no longer what used to be called, the new nation of Africa, and people were celebrating and hailing them. If I was to advise the two leaders, and I don't think I have the local standard to be able to tell them, this is what you need to do, I would tell them, sit down, the two of you, go back to the thing that led you to coming together and agreeing on what you wanted to achieve for this country, and focus back on that particular issue. But the problem is, in this division between the two, there's a lot of money to be made. Let me shock you.
What do you mean?
People who are fanning the flames, those who are sponsoring these stories in the newspapers, those who are ensuring that even when they have access or the chance to speak to the deputy or to the president, they try and push them as far apart as possible.
How much money could be made?
People who are making money out of this situation.
How much money could be made in that, Senator? That's ridiculous.
My friend, it's not small money.
My friend.
It is not small money, Jeff. And I know what I'm saying. I'm not bluffing. I can't give you figures, but it's not small money. There are people in every conflict world over. This is a universal rule world over. Every time there is a conflict, there are people who benefit out of the conflict.
Okay,
in this conflict between the two, there are people who are benefiting out of it. That is the challenge that we need to sort, especially those of us that belong to the Jubilee
Senator,
family.
let me ask you this, because Senator didn't answer the question, and I asked the same question. Headline in the Standard today, What went wrong? The bromance, the love, the shirt with the with the rolled up sleeves, the red ties. Those guys, I mean, they
Jeff, too many empty promises. To
the nation or to each other?
To each other and to the nation. Because the figures that I've just given you has completely shown that this economy is going down. We're not able to survive. There's a lot of indiscipline. So if I sent you to be able to go and ensure that a project is done, and 5 years later that project is not done, then you begin to ask yourself questions.
So it was mistrust.
It
was mistrust.
So I think it's an issue of priority. So like mixed priorities. Because what is there is that the moment we had the handshake, we thought that this country was going to go further. But at that moment, the DP himself started campaigning. Every single weekend. How do you think people feel when every weekend you're giving 10 million shillings to a church? Every weekend. And there are people who are sleeping hungry.
He says he read in the Bible that
it doesn't matter.
The more you give, the more you get back.
It doesn't matter if it is the more you give. But let us be realistic. Kenyans are suffering. And sometimes the problem with some leaders like Aaron Cheruiyot is that he's got selective amnesia. He's here pointing fingers at me saying I'm tribal, but he forgot that just the other year they were all demonstrating in the streets of Eldoret defending one of theirs to become the deputy vice chair or is it the vice chair or whatever.
Did you see me there?
The issue is...
Did you see me there? You're in Kericho.
Well, he's in Kericho, so he should not be talking about Narok. So here's the thing.
What is this?
What is happening in this country is that the president finally realized that he's being lied to. And the person he trusted the most... I once asked Jerry Rawlings, what is the worst thing that can ever happen to you? Or what is the worst thing that ever happened to you when you're in office? And he said to me, betrayal.
Betrayal, yeah.
The person you trust the most, betraying you. It's never the same.
Well, it's Julius Caesar. It's Julius Caesar.
It is never the same.
But the thing that I don't get from Ledama is, he's now trying to quote all this about debt to GDP and all these things. 2 months ago, or is it 3 months ago, just before we went on recess in December, I was trying to educate him on these things and telling him, let us not increase the debt ceiling. This country is going to sink in debt.
Right.
But because he received a call from his party leader, he couldn't hear a thing. I told him, let's make this government fiscally responsible. Don't increase the debt ceiling. You should have listened to his answer that day. Go to the Hansard. See how he voted.
You asked me that
question. So all of a sudden he has remembered about the economy?
Can you just shut up and let me answer that question?
No, I'm not going to shut up. Is it your show?
You asked me that question.
Yes.
In this
forum,
bench.
correct.
And I responded to you.
Yes.
That the level of debt we had in this country, needed to be refinanced. If you've reached a ceiling, the only way you can refinance is if you raise the ceiling. Period.
My friend,
I did not.
There was nothing like that. Because these guys were convinced that we are retiring expensive commercial loans. We asked for documents from CS Ukuru. Please show us which are these expensive commercial loans that you want to retire. They never gave it to us.
We were given.
These guys,
I can tell you the documents.
There is none that was presented. I'm a member of finance committee.
My friend,
I've been a
they
member
were
for 5
presented.
years. You don't understand these things.
The documents.
I'm glad we're all friends here because, we keep saying my friend, my friend.
But I think we're anything but friends.
We are acquaintances.
On that note of friendship, goodness gracious me. Let's take a look at some tweets.
Okay.
Japheth Bor says, ask Ledama, why don't they leave the gazetted BBI? Haji team task force to collect the opinions of people on their own, as they did in BBI too. Not political leaders doing it on their behalf.
Because politicians can be able to reach millions of people, the Haji team cannot be able to reach all those people. Okay? When they came to Narok, when the Haji team came to Narok, we went to Masai Mara University. There were barely 400 people. On Saturday, when we go to Narok, there will be over 200 or 300,000 people.
That's because you're rallying them.
And we can be able, so the politician, anything that does not have political support will not be able to go anywhere. We won the Mao forests war and preserved. And since then, it's been raining. It's been beautiful because we gave political support.
Aaron, are you going?
To Narok? Yes, I'll be there.
But he has to behave when he comes.
No, I will not behave according to how Ledama wants me to behave. Because by the way, Jeff, let me tell you a story. I made this guy senator.
You?
And I will kick him out of parliament.
You made him senator?
Yes.
How?
Miscalculation.
Nigga, please.
This guy, without Jubilee splitting its Senate vote in Narok, because there's a friend of mine who walked up to me and said, please, I need your support. And I thought perhaps because he's a young man, he needed a candle. He ended up disappearing with 90,000 votes.
This man will be governor one day.
I will be president one day. Watch him.
He ran in 2007. Ask him how many votes he got.
Let me tell you, I campaigned for 2 months. Okay? 2 months. And you know what, Jeff? Let me tell you something. I come from a clan of only 5,000 people. But because of my action and my service to the Maasai nation, they all believe in me.
Anyway, let's go to this.
So this young man,
we will reform him, and then he'll be
gentlemen,
governor.
can I read tweets, or you're just going to continue?
Ahead. Okay, please go. Continue.
Thank you. Brian Okech Amwai says, we dream of a united country, but what road are we taking to ensure we get the unity we dream of? We're divided politically, and unless our leaders focus on uniting themselves first, then this unity we seek will just remain a dream. And it's right here on this bench.
True.
It's a pipe dream.
Very true.
It's very difficult.
You guys don't see eye to eye.
By the way, Jeff, there's one mistake that the drivers of BBI are making. Let me tell you, this 2010 constitution that we have, you cannot gainsay the kind of journey that it traveled. From 2005, Kilifi draft, the banana and orange issue, it was a difficult, painful process. Not the kind of political deceit that you are seeing in BBI. It's never that easy. That's not how you write a constitution. You've got to be at your best element and have your honest, if the leading political figures of this country would have told us, Raila Odinga, for example, what is it that you want? A parliamentary or presidential? What form of a parliamentary? You go to Uhuru Kenyatta, you go to William Ruto, Kalonzo Musyoka, all these leading political lights. Place your cards at the table and your followers together. Then we begin to have a sort of like a joint conversation and say, this is not possible. You have a sort of a give and take.
Right.
But as it is just
Senator, real quick. Will there be a referendum this year?
Absolutely.
There will be.
Absolutely.
Senator.
If you read the BBI,
then
you will be able to understand there are certain things which are protected by Article 255 of this Constitution. And if the BBI propose for them to be changed, like the system of governance, okay, we have got to be able to go to a referendum. If we are going to, let me tell you, even if, and I support this, if we are going to change Nairobi into a city with self-funding mechanism, we have to go into a referendum.
He talks about a referendum. What you need to ask him,
come on.
The budget policy statement has been laid in Parliament. This is a framework that gives each and every institution how much they're allowed to budget up to. Ask him how much IEBC has been given for referendum in the 2020-2021 financial. Ask him.
Let me tell you,
zilch.
The budget policy statement does not give money to IEBC. Okay? The division of revenue bill is the one that will give money.
That's why I told you, I need to teach him how Parliament works.
This young man have got to understand certain things.
Ledama,
okay?
Do you know what is a budget policy statement?
A budget policy statement states clearly how the economy is doing. If you read the budget policy statement, it is right here, Jeff. It is not even anywhere far. It is right here.
Read it, don't carry it.
So let me tell you, let us not lie to Kenyans. Okay?
There is money for referendum.
Where?
We will get money for a referendum. Where did we get money for a repeat election?
Ask him.
Where did we get money for a repeat election?
True.
No, ask him.
It's not possible.
Because it is his party that had a repeat election.
This is John Willis Njoroge says, can we resign calling truth tribal?
Can we resign?
Can we stop calling?
Okay.
As Kenyans, we need to stop being passive and become active. Politics of passive aggression seek to dismantle heritage.
Exactly.
He's simply saying, can we call a spade a spade? We are a tribal nation.
We are.
Unless you accept who you are, you can never change.
I don't believe in that.
It is.
That's not my kind of politics.
And we live in our tribal cocoons.
It's not true.
You know what? I love the next.
It is politicians like this one.
Leparillo says, Jeff, I come from Il Chamus community in Baringo, a minority Ma-speaking clan.
If Jeff,
is there more?
Let me tell
by
you.
the way,
Marigat, right?
By the way,
Jeff,
if we use his logic,
let me tell
the people in Baringo will tell the El Chamus, go to Narok.
By the way,
Boss,
isn't that Marigat?
Let
Yeah,
me tell you, it
that's
is Marigat.
I was in Marigat,
I know.
remember?
And if you read my proposal to the BBI task force, we want the Il Chamus to be given their own constituency. They won that in court for them to be given.
There's like 3 of them.
Let me tell you, they're not. They're 35,000 with 11,000 votes. Okay? They have 2 wards.
And?
Okay? So, and they are
So you
small
need-
minority. Wait.
You need to
They are
ask him.
smaller minority.
You think they're discriminated against by the other guys?
Jeff, listen.
So you
yes,
need to
they
ask
are.
him.
Number
You need to
one.
ask him.
Number
Okay,
one.
finish.
Let us be factual.
Okay.
Here. The Il Chamus of Baringo, okay? They're the Maasais. And if you go there, way back during the Moi era, there was a famous district commissioner called, I think, Madenge. He took a plant. That plant has completely destroyed their livelihood.
Why? How?
Okay? Because it's a plant that spreads like cancer all over. If you go there, it's completely. There are animals there. You know, those people have really suffered for a long time. And if this country and BBI task force, and I hope Haji and my 2 colleagues, Haji and Senator Wako, are watching. These people deserve to be given. Let me finish. Deserve to be given their own.
Have you been to Marigat?
Yes, I've been there.
Have you been there?
Many times. I was there last weekend, actually. No, 2 weeks ago. I'd gone there for a funeral. One thing Ledama needs to know, the Madenge plan that he's talking about doesn't affect the Il Chamus alone. Still goes back to his thinking that I
Fine,
told
but
him
it
that
has taken-
to him, every problem
It's a
has to be
Maasai
reduced
problem.
to a
But,
Maasai
you know, he
problem.
can speak for his
It
people. Let me
avoids
speak for
everybody.
my people.
I speak for all Kenyans. I
No,
told
you
you the
don't.
difference
Don't lie.
between me and you.
You don't, because when you're talking about Mao
Secondly-
Forest, you're speaking about your people.
Secondly, if we apply the Ledama logic, what happens to the El Chamus who are living in Baringo?
What do you mean?
happens to them?
Let me tell you.
Because according to
Let me
him,
tell you, that is their
who's-
land.
everybody who's not a dominant community in a
Boss.
particular county needs to go back
Jeff,
home. What happens to
Jeff,
them?
let me answer this young man. For many years, and I've repeated this, the Maasais have been tortured. We lost Eldoret, okay? Wasingishu County, and we moved back. We cannot continue losing. In fact, the El Chamus is only a small group of Maasai who remain there. So when I talk about these things, these are factual.
Do they have devolution in Baringo?
Yeah, they have devolution in
And?
Baringo. So what? What do you mean, and?
It doesn't trickle down?
It doesn't.
Why not?
Because they are discriminated against?
Who's the senator there? Doctori? This is Leparillo's complete tweet. Remember? I come from Il Chamus community, Baringo minority speaking. Can Ledama tell the nation that BBI will end community marginalization, or we are, quote unquote, Ma speaking, used to rubber stamp the name Ma?
What? I'm not understanding that.
You don't understand? Can Ledama tell the nation that BBI will end community marginalization?
I hope so. I pray so. It's my prayer that we can be able to treat every Kenyan as equal and not take advantage of others.
Kevin Olekina is absolutely right. Zoning of land is needed in Kenya. Go to other developed countries, you will find zoning of land for specific purposes. You can't buy 100 acres of land, then start reselling them in plots. No wonder price of nyanya is 25 shillings.
Absolutely. We want food security.
But that's different from what this guy is advocating.
No, that is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
This guy
Jeff,
says
you can go back to the tip.
Yeah. He
Land
said,
use
I can buy
policy.
100 acres in Narok.
Let me tell you.
But you can't
know what
live
these
there,
people
you
used to
can't
do?
run for
Jeff,
office
no,
there.
No.
That's
People,
totally
you know what these
different.
people do? They come there, they buy an acre of land. 1 acre of land at 17,000 shillings. Subdivided into 8 plots. Sell each at 350.
What's wrong with that?
Okay, it's very wrong because that land was designed and reserved for agricultural purposes.
Well, look at the people on
It was
Kiambu
zoned.
Road right now.
There
It
was
used to be coffee plantations.
Exactly.
Nice real
I'm not
estate.
saying what is happening in Kiambu is right. If it is land which is reserved for food, it must be. it must be. So we've got laws
you
in this
need to
country.
bring a law to
if
Parliament
you,
on
no,
that.
I don't need to bring a law. There's a law already.
You have your wheat farms in Narok.
Yes, we do. And you know what, Jeff? You really don't want to go into that line. Our wheat farms, right now, this government is not putting any money in wheat or maize. Everything is going to tea and coffee. Okay? Those are realities.
Hey, Senator, Kipchumamurko men. We are such a tolerant nation. I am watching my colleagues I can just imagine if the same logic is applied in Nakuru, Uasin Gishu, Kericho, Trans Nzoia, entire coast region, etc., then Kenya will burn. The BBI is professing, is an oxymoron.
You know what? All he's doing is that he's trying to really prove to Kenyans that he's completely against BBI. Earlier on today, he was telling me that, once these guys get the parliamentary system, they will push for another 100 seats. No, that's not what BBI is saying. So let's call a spade a spade. Whatever BBI is saying,
gentlemen, I'd like to end this show on a positive note because it's been rather tempestuous at most. So
really, I don't think so, because I've been more relaxed than I've ever been.
Senator, final thoughts moving forward.
I agree that there are challenges in this country, that there are things that we need to perhaps sort as a leadership. But unfortunately, looking at the conversation that we have around the BBI, it has been sort of captured by the big political boys. And now the discussion is about how to expand the executive, how to ensure that there's a representation of this and that community. Yet, very little discussion about the ordinary things that matter to everyday people. People who, if you meet on the streets, don't care so much about whether it's presidential, parliamentary, you have a deputy prime minister and all that. They just want to ensure that their kids are able to go to school. When they are sick, they go to a functional hospital. That's a discussion that perhaps as a leadership. And my proposal, Jeff, that when I get the opportunity, and I think I'll take time to give these views to BBI, that perhaps the best thing to do, because it's all about the battle for power and the control of the national purse. Let us stratify our national budget. Ensure, for example, the proposal that some of us recently made, that if it is judiciary, set a fund and say, out of our national revenue, the amount that you collect, say any amount between 2.5 to 3.5%, ensure that you have judiciary, because access to justice is such an important and canon principle in democracy. If it's about parliament, you've got to check the rogueness of parliament, because parliament, being the one that distributes the money, has the potential to go rogue. Set it as a limit and say you can't go beyond 2%. If it's about devolution, there's all this discussion about 35, 45. I don't think is possible at the moment. But at least a figure, say even about 30% for a start, will be able, once you assure it, and ensure that this money goes to the counties. And of course, we refine our laws. Unfortunately, for example, PFM provisions, Jeff, that we need to review, and we had this discussion earlier on today in our Budget and Finance Committee. When we did PFM in 2014, we told counties that you can't spend beyond 70% on recurrent expenditure. That's more than 5 or 6 years ago. That figure needs to be reduced now to maybe anywhere between 50 and 60% maximum, so that you can free up more money to do things that end up putting money in the pockets of ordinary citizens. And the rest of the things, that's the kind of discussion and conversation that we need to have. Unfortunately, Jeff, if we are not careful, if we allow the kind of talk that I continue to hear from people like Ledama and those that speak so carelessly about the country, that, oh, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, we've got to be tolerant with each other. Speak. Do you know how in most countries, when you have a presidential system, you don't have devolution? But do you know how we ended up having the same in this constitution? Because it was a give and take. This discussion that you hear about 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. And those up north and people like him who perhaps are blessed with bigger land but smaller, less people are speaking about 1 kilometer, 1 shilling. It's about being tolerant to each other and say, how do we come up with a formula that everybody goes home happy?
Okay.
That's how we were able to say, let's surrender parliamentary system but give us devolution. That is the kind of conversation that I think if we had as a country, we can be able to live beyond it. And final thing, Jeff.
Just call me Debal.
Yeah, because I'm used to going to his show. Forgive me about that.
You just call me Debal.
Damn, you don't even look like him.
Forgive me. I'll find a way of apologizing.
Okay,
Next time I travel, I'll bring you a very nice tie. As a way of apologizing.
By the way, your ties are very good, huh?
Thank you.
You wear good ties.
Thanks.
Okay,
thanks.
Finally you say, finally, Debal.
All this dispute is about electoral justice. How comes in all these conversations around BBI, we aren't hearing a damn thing about IEBC? We've got to talk about IEBC. Remember, in 2007, after post-election violence, Kriegler told us that if you want to have a credible election, ensure that the team that manages the election is in office at least 2 years before the election. Do you know how many months are left before we go to the next election? 2 years and 5 months. So we only have a window of 5 months if we are to stick to that. There is a proposal in the BBI, but I do not agree with it. The proposal that each political party nominates commissioners, not in Kenya. Remember what happened in Zanzibar?
That's right.
Every commissioner went to their party and said, my party won. You don't want to imagine if that happens in Kenya. Therefore, we need to have a serious conversation about IEBC. These guys who are always complaining about elections weren't managed properly, this is a time for them to tell us this is how we would it be managed.
Jeff, I think I want us to reflect back as a nation and ask ourselves whether we've been honest with each other. And the truth is, we haven't. This is a nation where everybody for himself and God for us all. It is about time that we start having what is good for the common good. If you look at the Senate as an example, we have continuously violated the Constitution. We have not passed the third generation formula, and we must pass that in terms of how revenue can be able to be divided among the devolved unit and the other two levels of government. It is important that we do that. We cannot continue saying that we'll have one formula that will fit all. We will not. If today, if you ask me, I will say, consider the land size, the land mass. But the people in central Kenya will say, no, distant to service. How long will it take for you to be able to get an ID? But for me, I occupy the entire piece of land. I have cows. When it is dry, I have a place called Olagari. I take my cows to eat there. So really, we have got to figure out how do we help this nation. The problem we have is that we are not honest. There's something called the Equalization Fund that has never been implemented. In fact, if you ask now Treasury, where are the funds for the implementation fund, which the Constitution set aside, so that they can be able to uplift the other ethnic groups. There's no way we are going to talk about equality in Kenya. We don't have equity. We will never have equality. And the other most important thing is that I'm very happy that we are having this conversation about BBI. In his closing remarks, my brother here spoke about the BBI. He talks about what we need to do, which system of governance we need. This is a conversation that we must have. And we must be honest enough to say the truth. When I come to your show, I'd be a liar if I don't say that my people feel disgruntled. My people feel discriminated against. Because if you look at government policies, this is an opportunity that every government policy must support all the 47 ethnic groups of people that we have. So it is something that, yes, the new constitution came in a hurry. It was a compromise, okay? But if we are to develop this country, we must be able to go with that idiom that says money follows functions. You cannot devolve functions and not send money to it. Yeah. So I think it is imperative that as a nation we admit where we go wrong. We have got to respect our land for food security. We cannot talk about having 547 hectares of land in Samburu under irrigation, and when you go down there, you don't see it. We cannot continue talking about having a huge blue economy, but it doesn't benefit people. Kenyans are suffering right now. And the moment we begin to tell the truth and face the reality that regardless of who I am, God has blessed me abundantly, but I've got a responsibility to be able to make sure that my people, the people who pay my salary, also benefit. It is also about time, Jeff, that KRA up his game. Technology is very, very important. Right now, all counties, the 47 counties that we have in this country, can increase their revenue. We can use technology. KRA can up its game to be able to ensure that, Jeff, if you're in Narok and you own a building, how many businesses are in that building? How much do they pay? If you go to Gatwick, when you go to the UK and you go to Gatwick, you will see a big screen that shows how much money has gone into Scotland. Yeah. We need to be able to be transparent. And the only way that we can be able to ensure that we create a country that of shared prosperity is if when we are able to say the truth, even if it hurts. Even if that truth hurts,
the truth
let's
hurts.
do it.
All right, the truth definitely hurts. And, you know, Daniel Arap Moi has been in the ground barely 1 week.
And finally, just one thing.
It's silly season all over again.
But no, just one thing, though. I think it is important for Kenyans to read the BBI. I saw it in all the dailies today. Read it, take your time, go through, put in your recommendation. It's a recommendation.
Well, you guys...
It was in all the dailies.
Which BBI?
Okay?
The Bombers one or the one you guys are rewriting in Rawlings?
Don't trivialize this thing. I mean,
no, it's just a honest question.
Look, I told you, but silly season is back.
Thank you. So what I'm saying is this. Any Kenyan who can read. Jeff, I've taken it upon myself to print copies, thousands of copies, and taken them to my people in Swahili. We're now translating it into Maasai.
I hope you gave all the residents of Narok, not just the Maasai.
Absolutely, the people where I went to. So finally, Jeff,
gentlemen, I gotta shut this.
You know what? Over. Let me tell you, he will finally grow up. Don't worry, he will grow.
But he made you senator.
No, he didn't. He's how?
I am his senior. I am his senior in the house.
Senior who doesn't know anything.
Leave alone the fact he can call me boy, he can do whatever.
But he's a young boy.
In parliamentary practice, whenever anything is served in parliament, he can never be served ahead of me. Ask him.
That's not true.
He brings you tea.
Yes.
Nigga, please, no way. I would never do that.
I've been showing him around parliament.
But you know what? He really needs to learn. He needs to.
That's the best part of this interview. They actually shook hands. So it shows at least.
It shows that even if we fight and have a conversation and be honest.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, we have a country that we must all sweat to make it a good country.
And by the way, there's no other country other than Kenya to go to, eh?
No.
There's no other country. It's us, for us, by us. So let's keep doing this, folks.
Thank you.
We got to keep talking. Because I keep saying this. I've said this a million times, and I'll keep saying it. The minute we stop talking,
is the minute we start crying.
We start fighting.
And crying.
And crying. And you don't want to go down that slippery slope.
We will not go there.
Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, Senator Ledama Olekina, thank you for the conversation. Like you said, very important conversation.
Thank you.
Very important.
BBI.
Let's keep talking.
And come to Narok on Saturday.
Will I sit on the ground?
No.
I think you will.
Jeff, and bring the country music show.
Kabisa. You got to know when to hold them.
Know when to hold them.
Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You guys know when to run?
Yeah. I think on Saturday in Narok. I better sing that.